Hey, how you doing? This is Kitch, and welcome back to another episode of Kitch's Blueprint Book. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but .17 was released very recently, and it really broke the practical strip mall design that I use. Several of you had requested that I go ahead and post the blueprint for this, so here we go. If you're not familiar with me or the channel or any of my playthroughs, this is my practical strip mall, and it's a mall that I've used in several of my series now, and one that I just really like. There are a lot of mall designs out there. Many of them are very efficient and do stuff really well. They're very compact. They are very practical. However, this mall was designed in a series called Impractical Factorio, where I was spending a little time worrying about layouts and setups and aesthetics and just having a little bit of fun. So that's where this mall came out. Several people liked it. I ended up liking it. So it's the design that I've used in several series and still just really like it. So yeah, as I mentioned, there's a lot of malls out there. Many of them are compact and don't make really kind of they don't give a very good shopping experience. And that's what I was going for here. So the idea with this mall is you're just walking up and down your bus, you know, just minding your own business. And oh, hey, there's a mall. Let's walk in and do a little bit of shopping. So I have little areas all designated out here into little shops, just kind of like a strip mall. Our first shop here is where we get all our belt and belt accessories, as well as all our inserter needs. That is this first shop. Everything we need is right here for those. We go over here into the second shop, and we have a wall over here that is all of our chests that we could use, possibly want. Are over here. We have the assembly machines here on the back wall and military stuff on this side. Bullets, repair packs, gun turrets, radar, walls, and gate over here. And I snuck in some roboports here just because that was a very good place for them to go. And we had an extra space, so it just worked out. Over here in the next shop, this is kind of like the mega hardware store of Kitch's strip mall. But we have basically a lot of things here. Over here on this side, we have train cars and tanks and fluid train locomotives, engines, pumps, pump jacks, chemical plants, as well as pipe. And all the new items that require sticks, which is one of the big things that made this mall need to be rebuilt. The power poles now require the metal sticks as well as the railroad tracks, which always have. The train stops now require those, and interestingly enough, lights do not, but they fit on this row. And I thought they did require sticks. Turns out they do not, but they make here just fine. We have beacons right here, and then all of our combinators and logic wires are built on this side. And we have our signals, train signals right here, miners, as well as steel furnaces. So a lot of stuff going on here. But then we go over here to our last shop, and this is the nuclear/concrete shop. We're making all of our nuclear components here. We have our centrifuges, we have our heat pipe, heat exchangers, I believe those are called, yes, and the steam turbines right here. And then over on this wall, refined concrete, hazard refined concrete, regular concrete, as well as hazard concrete being made here. I did bump up the concrete production. I used to only have one of these. And the problem is we're filling up this chest with concrete, and we're supplying concrete for this guy, as well as the reactor, as well as the centrifuges. These all require concrete, and it was just too much. We needed a little bit of oomph. So I added a couple extra concrete makers and ran them out the back side. So those will manufacture a little bit faster. Also, if you've used a previous version, I have cleaned up a lot of these belts. If you're new to this mall, just check the previous video. It may look like a lot of spaghetti, but it is it's vastly improved over what it started out as, and even like the second, third iterations of this mall. Every time I take this mall apart and put it back together, the spaghetti gets a little bit better. And I think it's actually looking pretty darn good now, if you compare it back to what it was. Let's see. I took, there were some other items. Let's see. I think we were taking in stone up here. I took that out and moved it to the bottom. Basically up here, we just have iron ore and water and stone bricks. These are the things that we need to make the concrete. And we're taking stone bricks off in a couple locations to make the walls and the steel furnaces, but you know, that's not a big deal. Down here on the bottom, I have a lubricant intake, as well as an iron intake, gear intake, steel, copper, circuits. It is really important that you get the green circuits on the inside line. That's the only thing of all these inputs that matters. Green circuits go on the top or on the inside. And then down here we have our stone. So that and power, and you're good to go. Now, a couple of notes. This mall is not meant to be very efficient. It's meant to kind of look a way that... It was a look that I was going for. I wanted to see if I could do it, and it turned out that I could. And it can just get better, and it could even survive a Factorio update where all the recipes change. That was basically my goal with it. Does it work fine? Yes, it does. The problems you run into are with throughput whenever you're using like a ton of blue belt. Like if you're making a mega base. I've run into problems where you just can't get enough gears down here. We're not, a yellow belt of gears is not enough. I eventually end up updating this to red. But, you know, even then, if you're needing a ton of blue belt, this is not the solution for you. And if you just plop this guy down, it takes it a little while to get going, just because it's not built with efficiency in mind. But the good thing about it is that what malls do most of the time is do like this machine right here. They just sit completely idle. So you really don't feel it that much. Unless you're working on a mega base and you're just using tons of blue belt. That's really the only part that I've ever felt. A couple of other notes. I don't limit chests. All the chests are limited via circuit logic. So if you do use this blueprint, you may want to go and adjust these to better fit the needs that you want. I do a generic just everything signal, and that will go ahead and block those off. Now, whenever we get to updating a little bit later on, I do like to update these to buffer chests, like every single one of them. So I generally put like a storage area like over here somewhere, but I don't want stuff to accumulate in there. So I will use buffer chests to basically put a request on them so that the storage chests will get drained and they will actually go in the spot where they belong. This wire right here will keep it from going over if the buffer chest fills it up. And another thing I also like to do is put extra buffer chests on some of these that request like for example, like put a buffer chest right here that is requesting yellow belt so that we can recycle that back in the system. Same thing up here, a buffer chest that's requesting the red belt that will recycle that back into the system as well. Those are updates that I like to do. Another note is most of these are assembly machine ones because that's what you have starting out, and that is the basics. With the changes to the assembly machines, most of the items can be made with assembly machine ones. Feel free to go through and update these as needed. But whenever you're initially setting things out, what I was finding is if I set them all to assembly machine 2s, like I used to have, I couldn't use this blueprint that I have down here, which is a template of basically all the shops in the mall that I could go through and use that blueprint to go through and just kind of paste over it so the recipes would get placed as I discovered things. So I'll include this blueprint as well. The only exception are things like the concrete makers or the blue belt makers that require fluids, you can't do those with assembly machine 1s. So I left those as blue because that's actually what they need to be. So that should it should be clear. So I'll include the blueprint for this mall, just ready to go. I'll include this blueprint down here, which is basically the template that I used to just paste over the mall to get the recipes where they needed to go as we discovered technology. And those will be in the link in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next Factorio video. Have a good one.